back! You must know it's time for another episode of the Main Street Randyland YouTube channel. Hooray! Well, somebody the other day was saying, do you have Pac-Man? Most arcades would have a Pac-Man, but we don't have a Pac-Man. Why don't we have a Pac-Man? That's outrageous. It's sacrilege. It's one of the main games. Well, we kind of have a Pac-Man. They're over here as we drag ourselves over here. Look, I found it! It's Pac-Man! Yay! But it's not. It's a Mrs. Pac-Man. I'm running a Mrs. Pac-Man in a Pac-Man. And for all you people out there who look to nitpick and try to throw stones and mud at people and say, he put an LCD in there instead of a CRT, this goes back to reality. I'm working day and night, and when a monitor goes down and I don't have time, I will keep the machine running however I can. So the monitor went down and I put in an LED LCD. Horrible, aren't I? Execution at dawn. But you know what? People play it and they like it. And it's actually very bright. It does very well. Now, they actually have special mounting brackets for this. And there are people who have to go out and they buy flat screens for their video games. And they're really good, and they will cost you hundreds of dollars. And they come with a bracket to fit the frame where the old monitor, tube monitor used to fit, so you can bolt it on there, and they're really good. But again, we're working with quarters here at the Retro Arcade. And I'm sorry, I don't have hundreds of dollars to go out and buy a flat LCD screen with the proper brackets to put in there. So how is that thing in there? It's got a bezel around it with some duct tape. That duct tape isn't holding that in there. What's holding it in there? Well, can I show you the secret? I was here late at night. I needed to do something. I had a computer monitor, an old Dell, LCD. It'll work. Okay, I use a converter board to get the RGB into a VGA, and I get it to work, but I have no way to mount it. It's late, so I took off my shirt, okay? And I screwed through the holes of the old monitor brackets, and I mounted my shirt inside the machine. And the monitor is laying on my shirt just like a hammock inside the Pac-Man machine. You see? So it has been like this for 2 years, because I haven't gotten around to doing it any other way, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine. So we have a little bit of hidden sides with a little bit of duct tape, and we have the Pac-Man running a Mrs. Pac-Man. So I have a couple quarters. So, Lucky Ducky, and Crispy! Okay. Now, I was never any good at Pac-Man and Mrs. Pac-Man. Oh, there's that cherry. I don't usually like to get the cherries. I got the cherry! Look at that. Oh, they're trying to get me! Got them all. Oh, I didn't want to go over that pill. Not two. This guy's going to turn too quick. I'm not going to get more than two. There's that cherry again. We'll go after that cherry. I got that cherry. They're coming after me. Up. We'll lure them over into the corner. Up. Let's go over this way. We're waiting for them. Got them! Now they're mine. Ha ha ha. Pac-Man, eat them up. I sound like the little rascals now. Uh-oh, I'm dead. There we go. So, at least I got the high score on my first man. See? Look, I got high score. because the high score resets every day, ding dong. So no matter what I played, I'm going to get high score. I have this machine since Action Arcade in Keensburg Amusement Park. We opened in like 1980. And I did not get this Mr. Pac-Man. I did not get this regular Pac-Man machine new. It came used. That's why it has the security bar system on there. There's a pole, there's a rod, there's a pole that goes through there, and it latches with a piece of angle iron here with a padlock. And they use them in locations like bus stops or whatever, so you couldn't easily break into the door. Well, I never removed the brackets, but I never used the pole. It's probably laying in the bottom of the machine somewhere. But I know that this machine came from Action Arcade because I would never put that kind of security hasp on it. And it has my old lock that I had, a bunch of the old Fort Lock Company locks that I bought in a key-like series from Betson. So Mr. Pac-Man here has been with me for a very long time. There's another one that goes along with him, does not have the security bars. He also was bought used when I was in Keensburg Amusement Park. It came from Alpha Omega. Yes, Richie and Frank Sanitsky, they sold me the used Pac-Man machines because I was first starting out in Keensburg Amusement Park. Next to it is a Mrs. Pac-Man. And you will see it's still running your tube monitor for all you perfectionists out there. And see it's a little higher up because we're not using one of my shirts to hold it inside the machine. People are laughing at me with the shirt. I know you're going to try it. I know you're going to do it rather than spend a couple $100 for some mounting bracket. You're going to use your shirt, you see. So, Mrs. Pac-Man, the monitor is actually not as bright as the flat screen. You see that? Look at how bright that is on the flat screen, and it's not as bright here. Now I could turn it up a little bit, but then you lose the black color behind it, and it's actually nice the way it is until you open the door and the sun is on it in the daytime. Then it's a little bad. Over here we have our Galaga. It uses the same style cabinet as your Mrs. Pac-Man, but the monitor, again, it's not as bright as it could be if it was a flat screen. And I could get a little more brightness out of it, but then you risk other factors using your monitor up there. So it's perfectly fine the way it is unless the sun is coming in at an angle. That's one of the unfortunate problems with having an arcade that's open by the front door that's open on the thing. Now, I know you're probably wondering, why would he put Mrs. Pac-Man in a Pac-Man machine? Well, it's actually pretty simple. This is a functioning retro arcade. I know that people prefer to play Mrs. Pac-Man. I can have my Pac-Man board running here next to Mrs. Pac-Man and Crispy. And they're all going to come over and play Mrs. Pac-Man. They're going to ignore Pac-Man. You'll get a few people who'll try Pac-Man, but they like Mrs. Pac-Man better than Pac-Man. Why? Actually, I'm not a big Pac-Man player. I like them both. But the Pac-Man board doesn't change. It stays the same. And I guess it gets repetitive. So the people who are into playing that, they get good, they like as the board changes. Mrs. Pac-Man board changes. It changes the screen. So Mrs. Pac-Man is a superior game as far as getting played in an arcade environment. Pac-Man, right next to a Mrs. Pac-Man, will get some play, but it won't get as much play. So since I can't have the room to line up 12 Mrs. Pac-Man and 3 regular Pac-Man, I made it a Mrs. Pac-Man. With that, as we're running out of air here because it's hot, and I have the metal door down, which is acting like an oven, and it is cooking me here in the Retro Arcade. So we're gonna say, see you later, so I can get to the next episode, and sooner or later get the door open for the people who are waiting to come in. They came by bus today. They came by bus. They're coming in. As soon as they open the doors, they're all gonna be over here looking for change at the same time. See you next time. The Main Street Randyland YouTube channel. Hooray! Bye.